Here comes Mr. Nobody walking down.
Hello, everybody. So, as I said, I want to go back to some of my old videos and try to clarify what I was trying to get at in the video. Mainly because some people had issues with it, and other things is I didn't like the video, so I'm redoing them. So let's start off with this is one that seems to come up a lot is the internal effects on the DP24 system. You know, how does it work? Because you have dynamic effects, you have guitar effects, and you have send effects. So you have these three different effects systems. How do they work? How can I use them? And all that. So I'm going to talk about that today. So first off, it's good to know the difference in the effects. So there are two buttons that deal with effects on the system. So you have your dynamic effects and you have your effects. Your effects button or effect button, it has in it, in that case, it has the guitar effects and the send effects. We'll talk about what that is in a second. So let's talk about dynamic effects because it's the easiest to explain. Dynamic effects is only used on the inputs. So in this section right here, that's where it's used. And now how do you turn it on? Well, it's simple. It's the same way you would turn on the guitar effects. So I go into Mixer and I select a track. So I'm just so you can see me do it. I'm selecting input H in this case, and you have the phase button, and then right beside it is insert effects. So as soon as you hit that, you turn on the insert effects, and because it's in the input section, it is dealt with on the dynamic side. Now if I go to dynamics, you'll see input H is now on, and I'm using, and in this case, now the other thing about dynamic effects is you can only use one at a time. Whereas if you are on the guitar effects, I'll talk about that in a second. So the way the dynamic effects works, I don't want to confuse people too much, is that whichever one you land on this page. So in this case, I'm on the compressor. The compressor is what will be used against on input H in this case because I turned it on. So you can change which one you want. So you could say, well, I'd rather have noise suppression. I'd rather have de-esser. I'd rather have exciter, you know. So you have those four different items to pick from. So compressor, noise suppression, de-esser, or exciter. So you can pick which one you want to use. I'm going to redo my other video where I talked about how to stack these dynamic effects through one input. I'm going to redo that one because I've been asked to redo that one as well. That one, I had a lot of people get mad at me for a lot of different reasons, and a lot of them I thought were dumb, but that's the way it works. So the other way to turn on a dynamic effect is to simply use the on-off button. So I've turned it off here. Now if I go back to Mixer on input H, you can see dynamic effects is now turned on. So I'll show that. So turn it back on and then come back in. The other thing that you need to remember is that the dynamic effects, if you're only using the dynamic effects, not using guitar effects, as soon as you turn on the guitar effects, this changes. But if you're using dynamic effects, you can have all of these channels with dynamic effects on. Now you can't do that. As soon as you turn on a guitar effect, you're now limited to one on the input, one on the guitar, one on the track. So that's just a caveat that I feel everybody needs to know. So yeah, I can go and I can literally just sit there and I can go turn this on. So as you can see, I'm going through, I'm going to show you. So as you can see, I'm turning them on all of them. So now they're all on. And if I go through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, they're all on. And that's what you want. You want to be able to use dynamic effects, excuse me, on all your inputs, because you want to use, I don't know. I've done it when I do drums. I want to be able to have my compression set the way I want on every single channel or on every single input, so that I have that extra ability. Now that is dynamic effects. Dynamic effects are only used on the inputs. So you can't use them on the tracks. The tracks are different. You can only use them on the inputs. And even if you do something like, because as you know, if you assign the inputs to the stereo bus, you get the ability to use the rest of the screen. They should actually gray it out if you're not using it. It would make more sense. But either way, if you do that, then it's still dynamic effects. So this is always dynamic effects. Inputs are always dynamic effects. So I'm trying not to confuse people too much out of this. So let's talk about the effects button now. So the effects button, I'm going to turn off. First off, I'm going to turn off the effects on all of these because it's gonna throw me an error, which I will show you at the end. So I've turned off all the effects on the inputs. The reason I've done that is because I want to show you how the guitar effects work. So this is now we're in the send effects section. This is in two sections. This is in the send effects section and the guitar effects section. I'm going to talk about the guitar effects section first because it's the most common one that people know about. So as you can see, it says guitar here. You have guitar library select on off. And in the send effects, which is what this is right now, it's we're going to ignore it. Let's just ignore it for a minute. So I'm going to go and I'm going to turn on the guitar effect. So I switch to the guitar effects section. This is now, you have your noise suppression. And if you go through your select, this is where you get your amp. So in this case, the amp is on. Compressor, effect. And now, the nice thing about guitar effects section is each one of these you can turn on and off. And they will all work in conjunction. So you're not what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't work the same as the dynamic effects where you have one dynamic effect. It's whatever you've selected, that's the one that you stay on. This works where I can turn on the noise suppression, I can turn on the compressor, I can turn on the effects, I can go in, I can turn off the amp, and as you can see, it doesn't change any of the other settings here. They're all on except for the amp because I turned that one off. So that's what this section does, and then it's the guitar effects section. You don't have to just use it on guitar. The amp is definitely meant for guitar or bass, but you can use it. You can use the other sections here you could do it with vocals if you wanted. You could do it with what's the other things, like vocals, keyboards, anything. You can use it on anything you want. It's not design. It doesn't have to be used just on a guitar sound. The having the amp in there is nice because then you can use that as a virtual amp, and I've done that before. So now that we've discussed that, so the guitar effects, which is what we're in here, they cover, let's go down here, they cover the input section, or the track section, sorry, don't want to say input section, track section. So they cover this section right here. You can, but the only thing is you can only use it on one track, which is why you have the ability to change it to record or playback. So what that means is that if you have it set to play, so if I have it set to play, it will only be used on record as well as playback, but it will not get recorded. Whereas if you have it on record, it will get recorded into the track along with, whatever you're recording at the time. So, and like I said, the thing is that this can only be used once on one track at a time. So generally, the way that I would do it is I would record it. I would generally, if I was doing something, I would do 2 tracks because you can assign one input to 2 tracks. So I would have one dry, so one clean, and then one with the effects loop on it if I wanted that. And then that way if I wanted to and I wanted to record it later to a different track, you could do it through bouncing, just do the playback and have it bounce and then have it run this, and then on the bounce track it will actually record this stuff. So there's lots of different ways to do it. But yeah, it's designed to be on one track, and you can see that. So if I go to the mixer here, and I go and I turn on insert effects on track 1, go to track 2, it's turned off. Now just to show you, I turned it on track 2, go back to track 1, insert effects is now off. So you can see that. So there, it's on, off. So that's how it works. Like it automatically will switch. Now, as I said, if I'll show this to you now. So let's go back to track 2. Let's just turn this off for a second, and we go to input A. I'm turning on the insert effects, and I go to input B, turning on the insert effects. So I now have 2 inputs. 2 inputs are using the insert effects. Now if I go back to track 1 and I try to turn on, oh, it did work. Interesting. I wonder if they fixed that. It used to not work. Let's see. Can I do a C? No. There, now I can't do it. So I guess I was wrong. So you can have 2 insert effects or input effects on. So 2 dynamic effects can be on. So 2 on the input and then 1 on the track. So now you can see it says cannot do that. So if I turn, well, let's go back to B, turn that off. Let's go back to C, turn it on. Nope, can't do it. Oh, so I guess what I did, that might be a bug. We're going to try that one. So if I turn this one off, let's just try this, okay? This is one of those, oh, I didn't know this. So let's go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So, okay, so I have insert effects on all of them. Now let's go to track 1. Nope, can't do it now. All right, so yes. So now, as you can see, it's not allowing me to do that because it's saying, hey, you have all these taken up here. But if you play your cards right, once again, I know you guys just love me doing this stuff, so let's just go back. Let's go back to input A. We'll keep A, B, turn off C. So I'm going to turn off all of these. Let's just turn on C for fun. Let's see if it was a fluke. So there. So we got all A, B, and C are the only ones that have it on. Okay, so now let's go down to track 1. Turn it on. Nope, can't do it. Let's try this. So this is experimentation. This is what I do. Nope. So now it's not letting me do it. It's saying no, you can't do it. I don't know how I was able to do it a minute ago. So now I can have A on, and I can have track 1 on. I don't know how I got past that. So if Tascam's watching, you may have to bring out a patch for that one. That's new to me. So yeah, play with it, try what you can do. So yeah, so you can only have, if you're using the guitar effects, you can only have 1 dynamic effect on, which is a bummer. It was kind of neat that I was able to get 2 on there for a minute. I don't know how I did it, but either way, so that is guitar effects. Now, let's talk about the second set here. So now if you see, it says, hard to read there, but it says send. So let's go hit the send button. Now we're in the send effects loop. The send effects loop can be used on all the tracks, and it can be used on all the inputs, as long as the inputs are assigned to stereo bus. And the reason is because as soon as you assign the inputs to stereo bus, how do you do that again? So I'll just show you. So here, this is the stereo bus down here. I have F, G, and H assigned to it. And what it does is when you use your cursor button over here, so you can use your cursor button over here, and then you can go into there, as you can see, and you can turn them on just by clicking on the buttons. I can see these are lit up now because I'm in the stereo bus. And so what it does is it changes how the mixer button works. So as you can see, here's this, we're in A, or we're in input B, which is not in the stereo bus. Go to H, and what it does, what's the difference is now all this stuff, the equalizer, the send system, all this, and the level, this now becomes important. That's the best way to explain it. It now becomes important because it's now the controller for that input. When that input is assigned to a track, a track, that's right. It uses the tracks mixing system, and this is pretty much just your gain knob there. Now you like where your gain knob and your insert effects and the phase button. So those two will work for that. But that's another story. So that's just so you know how that works. So that's the difference. So when you assign this, you can then use the send effects. Now, how do you use the send effects? Well, effects 1 here. I don't think I have it on any of these ones, but I probably do on an input. Yeah, there we go. So effects 1, I got pre on here. That's where it goes through. Effects 2 is just the external effects. Now, effects 1 is also external, and when you run it external, you can actually kind of do a piggyback thing where you're sending to the external plus you're using the internal, which if you're trying to work on stuff, it gets really confusing trying to fix issues. So, and the send effects are the initial, when you go into the send effects thing, that's what you're in, because then it says guitar there, and that's telling you to go to the guitar side of the effects system. So you have reverb, chorus, delay, and so that's what you have. You have those 3 items to do, and then you just turn it on. And I think you can, this works pretty much the same way. Where whichever one you land on, let's just turn off reverb. Yeah. So this works pretty much the same way as the dynamic effects, whereas whichever one you're on the screen, that's the one you're using. So if you switch to, so if you go, well, that's how I want my reverb set, now I want to fiddle with my chorus. No. You have whatever one you've selected on that screen. So in this case, I have reverb up. That is the one that it will use. I'm not going to show, well, there's nothing really to show. It's so then the way it works is it will go through the ether. So it goes through the stereo bus as well. And then it only gets recorded when you're doing your mix down. That's the only time it gets recorded. So it's really nice to use. It's honestly, if you intend to do a lot of different mix downs, and you're working with somebody who you know is going to ask you like 200 times to do different mix downs, it's beautiful for that, because then you don't have to do anything. You just, you can once you turn off your machine, go back in, and they say, well, it has a little bit too much reverb. Then you can go in and you can play with it because it's already set, and you're just dealing with what's already there. That's the beauty of this machine, that it's internal, everything is in there. Now, if you use external effects, then everything is different. That's another story. I'm not getting into that. So, I hope this helps you out. So it's pretty simple. So as I said, so you have your 3 types of effects. You have your dynamic, which is inputs only. Your guitar effects, which is track only. And then you have your send effects, which is both, depending on how you have your inputs set up. So if you have them assigned to a stereo track, or assigned to the stereo bus, then you can use them. That's the difference. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I'm building up to another video that I want to do, and this is part of the whole setup, and I'm trying to break it out a bit more so that I can explain how to do it, because I'm going to redo the stacking of sounds, because that one seems to be a problem for a lot of people as well. So there you go. That's what you can do with this. As usual, I highly recommend playing around with the thing, just having fun with it. Don't worry about what you're recording. Make a mess of things on it. That's what it's for. Try different things out. You might make a sound that you're like, wow, that's amazing. So that's my video today. I hope this helps you out. Talk to you later. Bye.